Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar on best practices for transforming asset management, maintenance, and operations with AI. As we know, every asset-intensive industry is now challenged with maximizing asset value throughout their life cycle. To further complicate matters, today's enterprise infrastructures are tremendously complex, where applications and data tend to operate in silos and are thus limited in their effectiveness. Asset performance and the quality of an organization's products and services are impacted by the reliability of the asset. This can have a direct impact on customer satisfaction. Additionally, companies in these sectors face huge challenges such as increased global competition, compliance with government regulations, safety in the workplace, and higher costs of doing business. To help enterprises improve their asset utilization and performance, Express Computer has partnered with IBM to host an exclusive webinar on using the power of cognitive insights to improve asset utilization and performance, reduce capital and operating costs, optimize MRO inventory cost, extend asset life, and subsequently improve return on assets. Well, today in this webinar, we are going to further learn about how you can use technology to shift the axis from traditional preventive maintenance to cognitive, predictive, and prescriptive maintenance, how to mark quick decisions in case of unplanned events, how you can extend the life cycle of assets, optimizing maintenance process and improving the availability, reliability, and performance of resources located in different sites or functional areas. Learn how you can leverage IBM Maximo application suite to analyze asset data with AI to provide insights that can help you make better decisions, enhance efficiency, perform preventive maintenance, and maximize investment in physical assets. So before we kickstart, I will read out the webinar information. This webinar is being broadcasted live and will be available as on demand. This is an audio-video webinar. We'll have poll questions in between, request all to participate in the same. We'll have a round of Q&A at the end of the session. You can send in your questions using the Q&A text box and we will address the same based on time after the presentation. If you face any technical issues, please use the Q&A text box to send in your issue and we will try to sort the same to the best of our abilities. If you have any of your questions unanswered, we'll connect with you over email to answer the same. Also, a feedback form will open in your browser after the webinar ends. Please fill in the form. We would love to hear from you. Your feedback is very valuable to us. Well, to know more about the topic today, we have with us Pankaj Jain, Senior Technical Manager, IBM AI Apps Solutions. Pankaj Jain is a thought leader for connected operations product portfolio in IBM. He is a certified IT specialist responsible for technical sales of IBM Maximo and Trigera software solutions in India and South Asia region. Pankaj has held many key roles in IBM and has been working as a trusted advisor for customers and business partners and providing innovative industry solutions from EMU, TNT, manufacturing service providers. He carries his expertise in the areas of enterprise assets and facilities management. Mr. Jain holds a Bachelor of Engineering degree from Government Engineering College, Kota, and a Master's of Technology from Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. Welcome, Pankaj. The stage is all yours.
Thank you, Momita. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. First of all, thank you very much for taking out time. As the subject says, best practices around transforming asset maintenance, asset management with AI. I have put together a few slides, so I will walk you through on this subject. Very first thing, I have been closely working in this market with across the industries with our customers who are looking for asset management solutions. And what often I come across is some of the challenges which are pretty common across the board. If I narrate it down, starting with their assets, a variety of asset classes they have. It could be related to their plants, their refineries. If they are in transportation, they have got moving assets. They have got hundreds and thousands of complex assets which are getting aged over the period. And what they says is, of course, when the assets were new, when they were under the OEM warranties and things like that, and when the people who have seen these assets getting onboarded, they had everything on top of their mind. They could figure out what's going wrong with the assets. But as these technicians, the senior staff is getting retired and the assets are getting aged, they are facing the challenges around the reliability. They are facing the either they end up over maintaining it, or they end up doing some under maintenance, and in both the cases it's a problem to the business. Okay. One very common problem that we come across is, should I continue repair the asset, or is it a time to replace it? How do I take this decision very objectively, right? uh, Most of the organizations are struggling with their MRO inventories, which they are carrying in their different storerooms at different sites. Uh, a lot of very basic fundamental problems they still encountered is like an unstandardization. Okay. The same item is in the stock with different item codes. Okay, and it's too difficult to figure it out. What's an alternate item? Can I make use of my these spares from one site location to the other site location? Okay. Unplanned downtime, pretty much common across the board, where as these assets are getting aged and a lot of business scenarios changing. First and foremost is, how can I avoid unplanned outages? How can I reduce my unplanned outages? Because there may be some breakdowns happening, right? At beyond a stage, it's too difficult, or there's a substantial cost involved to completely avoid it, right? So in place of avoiding it, how do I manage if such situation happens, right? They need a system which can help them to augment, to help them to for the decision making, and reduce this kind of unplanned outage scenarios. Many of the customers, they have got from across the industries. Some of them, their workforce is working within the four walls of plant and refinery, but in some cases where their people are on the move, they're out in the field, specifically in the utility sector, especially in the travel and transport sector. They are looking, how do I manage my entire crew? How do I assign the high priority work to the person who is closer to the work location in the field, right? How do I manage the dispatch? Very, I mean, most of the users are concerned. Most of the business organizations are concerned about all these risk regulations and all kind of regulatory compliance that they need to comply with before they are doing anything. And a lot more stringent guidelines which are coming, maybe in the energy and utility sector, or transport or aviation sector, and life sciences, pharmaceuticals. So cut across the industries, this is another one very big business challenge that we have been hearing from our customers. Of late, there have been a lot of technological advancements. While the asset management has been an age-old subject of over 40, 50 years, organizations have been doing it in some form and shape as a CMMS or as an asset management. But of late, the new technology which are coming up, the promise of AI, ML, the augmented reality, the IoT buzzword, which was there a few years back. While the terminology maybe new, but our customers have been doing they have been managing their OT world and IT world in their own ways, right? So their challenge is, how do we get to this journey of the AI ML? How do we leverage these new features and functions which are now available to us? Of course, one very practical challenge that we come across is, while the senior leadership thinks that yes, a technology can help them a lot, but the field user shows a lot of reluctance to the technology adoption, because it's like, okay, anyway, I'm doing my work, why do I need some another tool to duplicate my work? Or maybe again I have to go back to the desk and fill out the long sheet of my actuals and things like that, right? So technology adoption is, of course, one of the primary factor, and end of the day, customers are looking to reduce their total cost of ownership over the asset life cycle. They are looking from the concept design phase to all the way up to when the assets get retired. So these concerns are pretty common, I believe, and I hope you may have one or other similar challenges within your organization. So we just want to take a quick pause here and see how do you think about that before we get deep on this subject and see what we have. So there's a poll here. If you can just give your opinion, please, we
Sure,
can.
Pankaj. Yeah, so I'll just read out the poll question for the benefit of the audience here. The question is, which is your top business challenge? And the options are asset reliability concern, MRO inventory optimization, unplanned downtime, or regulatory compliance. I repeat the question again. Which is your top business challenge? Options, asset reliability concern, MRO inventory optimization, unplanned downtime, or is it regulatory compliance? Please fill in your responses for the question, which is your top business challenge? Do you think it's asset reliability concern, MRO inventory optimization, unplanned downtime, or is it regulatory compliance? Well, we have the responses here where we see that 41% says unplanned downtime, 39% says asset reliability concern, 11% MRO inventory optimization, and 7% says regulatory compliance. Over to you, Pankaj.
Thanks, Mita. I think this is very much in line of if once we go through the asset maturity curve, and this response possibly will help will fits into that asset maturity curve also. So moving on, some of the very basics thing, and I'm sure most of us would agree on this call that three very fundamentals around visibility, control, and automation. And in a very simple language, you can't automate until you have things under your control, and you can't control until you have the visibility of the things, right? I mean, it's very nothing rocket science here, but very simple. What I mean by visibility here, visibility where you have the complete visibility of your all assets across the plant, across the refinery, across the organization, across the enterprise, by site, and not just at a master asset level, right? All kind of the sub assets, the spares, their maintenance policies, what OEM recommended versus what are the operators recommendations, if something goes down, what is the process, what is the standard operating procedure to fix the problem, what's your job plan, what kind of permits you got to secure, right? The safety plans, what kind of technician should go and fix the problem. So entire this gamut of the things falls under the visibility. And many a times we see that we take a pass on this very first stage, and that's where our some of the concerns, and if we are aiming to go to the control, it becomes too difficult. Okay, while we feel yes, we are ready to now go for the control and the automation, if we do not have the right visibility, it becomes a problem. Okay, so from an asset maturity curve point of view, if you see, on one side is very basic things around the calendar based maintenance and usage based maintenance, which are maybe the starting points, and I'm sure each one of you would be doing in one form and way the calendar based, where periodic PM triggers the work order and say, hey, maintenance is due. Now it's a very time based, it's still a starting point. I'm not saying it doesn't have a means way, means that's how most of the organization starts, based on the OEM recommendations. Go and change the oil after 3 months, go and change the bearing after 6 months, right? Something, all kind of the OEM recommendations. These recommendations can be the uses based, hey, not just the 3 months, but if it has been in use for so many hours, so many days, then it's really due for the due maintenance, right? The usage based comes pretty much under the PM, preventive maintenance schedules. The next stage is condition based, where not only you are keeping a tab on your time based and users based, you are also keeping a close eye on the condition of the assets. And that's where the integration with the SCADA, the PLCs, the DCS comes in consideration. You are not only going with the OEM recommendation, you are also bringing in the real time operating conditions into your decision making and enabling the condition monitoring. Okay, then going beyond that, while of course, say for example, a motor which is out in the field getting over the period, it's getting corroded, it's getting rusted, right? While the operating parameters are still well within the thresholds, but the trends which are developing over the period, right? It you could extrapolate based on the mathematical formulas, or you could extrapolate based on the advanced statistical algorithms, and that's where the predictive maintenance comes in the picture, right? So this is the next stage. Of course, by this time you would be enabling your reliability engineering, as many of you have mentioned. That's one of the concern, right? Also the unplanned downtime, which is also one of the highest concern that you mentioned, right? And all the way to the risk-based maintenance, right? Making use of these condition monitoring insight, right? As well as the predictive maintenance insight, taking into the consideration, and also enabling all kind of the risk metrics, prioritizing your work, right? And if you see, the entire philosophy moves from seeing the maintenance as an expense to the maintenance as an investment, right? Means you don't fix the problem when it occurs, right? You get to a stage where you have and also you don't want to kind of avoid the asset failure. What you really want is, if this failure happens, what is my mitigation plan? How do I handle this risk without padding it with the I mean, with redundant assets, or keeping a lot more in my stock and space, right? Asset, as I said, even though whatever prediction we do, it could still fail. I mean, nothing that an IT technology or an intelligence can help them to fail. But if it fails, what is my business impact? Do I have a complete assessment done in the system? What is my plan one, plan two ready, so that I can bring it back to business, bring it back in operation within a minimal time? I think that's what, of course, this asset maturity curve handles. Now, if you see, of course, as I said, this subject has been an age-old, 30, 40 years old, right? And there have been the best practices around, which comes from different, of course, learning from different organizations. They're sharing it, as well as the ISO 55000 best practices could be a starting point to understand how do you have this system in place, right? And could be one of the uh, starting point to see how do you define your plan, do, check, and act kind of the things, right? PDCA part, determining all the scope asset management systems, having a specialized asset management in place. And many a times, especially in India and South Asia region, what we have observed very closely is asset management. It is still not a well identified or recognized subject. It still falls in, sometime it falls under the broader umbrella of an ERP system, or maybe in different ways organizations are handling it. It's still, in many of the government organizations, still is not uh, the planned item which needs to be implemented. So there are challenges specifically in our region if we compare with some of the western part of the world, from the asset management focused approach. I think there are many gaps that we closely observe while working with our customers in this region. So of course, defining all kind of the asset strategy, to defining the planning things, defining all kind of the SOPs, the job plans, very important things around the management of change, right? The O&M processes, which they cannot be rigid, because every day your field workforce, your people on the shop floor are learning and bringing these new things which need to be incorporated in the organization. And how do you bring that change in practice, right? So that so those management of change, the trend which we are observing is outsourcing O&M things to the specialized vendors who are bringing the O&M services to your organization, right? So how do you manage those all kind of the SLAs, and of course the other SLAs and KPIs with and all kind of the term and conditions and all kind of the operating things with your outsourced partner also, right? So this is first fundamental things which I just wanted to bring into consideration. So I have got 10 points for you to cover on today's subject around the best practices. First and foremost is take a strategic approach for asset management. What I mean by taking a strategic approach is acknowledging asset management in the early phase of your plant operations, or maybe if you are a metro or a rail organization, or an airport, new airport coming up, or maybe a new plant or refinery, or in a pharmaceutical, right? Acknowledging this as in very specialized area, what it helps is what we have observed at many of the customer places. They have got almost like a dozen of systems working pretty much in silos, be it their maintenance systems working in silos. They have got permit system which is being used by a set of people who are issuing the permits. There is a separate system for operators to maintain the ship logs. There is a integrity, fleet management system, risk management, MOC. They have been fairly independent, and they are not well acknowledged disciplines within the O&M part. Okay, so the point here, what I'm trying to make is when you go for this and take an holistic view, you cannot continue with this piecemeal approach. The problem is when you go for optimization, these becomes the bottleneck, because your processes are kind of managed in silos in different systems, and that's exactly take from your current. Now the question comes then, what is the right time to really start the asset management things? Is the time when you have onboarded the assets. And actually, practically speaking, the O&M only starts when you they are commissioned and you start your operations, right, or productions. But the if you got to have the right solution in place, the asset management starts right at the time when the OEM is supplying you these assets, because at the first end, they are the best people who can provide the entire master data about the assembly, sub-assembly. They are the best people who can give the initial recommendation how this asset should be maintained over the period, right? So a lot more information from maybe from the OEMs or maybe from the EPCs who are kind of engaged in the very initial phase of the project. They should be able to provide the inputs into the system. They should be able to help you to define the safety procedures, right? If you got to do some hot work or scaffolding or any kind of the things, right? The EPCs and the OEMs are the best advisor because they own the asset. But by the time operator comes on board, by the time you get into commissioning phase, those OEMs and EPCs move out of the campus, and it becomes a problem that how do you get your data in place in any asset management systems, right? The second is point is have a very detailed plan in place. If you see my the slide I'm putting it, how an unplanned job goes versus how a planned job goes. Okay, while an unplanned job can start immediately, but as you see, I've just tried to put some pictorial representation. It will have multiple pauses because you just started without really realizing that who is the right people to fix it. Do you have the right permit issued, or the person who is going to fix the problem, has he got the right tools, has he got the right spares, enough skills, and right? So it is very important when the technician goes to fix the issue, he or she carries everything. When I say everything, means everything around the labor with the right skills, with materials, with tools, all kind of the stuff. And this is a big task actually. If you ask me, is there a shortcut? There is no shortcut for having your detailed SOPs in place. Many of the places I have seen, there's a one-liner description, then okay, uh, 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 fix even the boiler repair kind of the big task has got only a very small description defined in the job plan. Now, it's not a problem for those who have seen the boiler getting commissioned, those who have been around for several years around that particular equipment. They don't need all these details, but think about the one who is now coming out of college and going to be responsible for all those activities. It becomes a nightmare and it's too difficult for the new technicians or new people to kind of control those things without having these kind of the detailed plans. It could be job plans, it could be safety plans, it could be all kind of the detailed checklist. Now checklist part, typically I've seen, yes, they are fairly detailed checklist, because not just because of the work, because of a lot of regulatory compliance and other stuff also. So very important part is have the detailed plan. And again, going back to the previous point, it requires a lot of data entry at the first time, one time data entry, and it becomes a challenge that who will do that data entry in the system, because there is no such a tool available at this time which can just give you all the SOPs, right? Because these SOPs got to be specific to your business, with your plant, with your all kind of the things, right? So best if you could define them while you have got OEMs and EPCs in campus in the very early phase of the project, right? And they can continue getting modified and updated as the business progress. My third point is around maintaining a fine balance between maintenance and operations. And I also want to bring it another important point is when organizations are going for any specialized asset management tool, they end up doing a lot of customization. Okay, so let's cover the first point, where as you see these two spokes, maintenance and operations, it's a very fine balance between two, and I'm sure you know much better than me on this subject, where when the asset is only available for maintenance when the operations releases it, right? Now how and we have observed that these two organizations kind of having their own tools in place, and the ship logs, the permits are issued by one side, and then of course a lot of collaboration back and forth happens between these two organizations, right? So system which you have should be, of course, have the capability to give a fine balance to these two sides of the business. Of course there are peripherals around the safety, around other aspects, right? Also the other point that I just wanted to highlight is when you have the IT application to support O&M functions, many a times we have observed that the end user asks a lot more from the implementation team. Okay, I want this capability, I want that capability, and they show a lot of reluctance and resistance to follow some of the best practices, how those standard applications have been built over the period. Okay, while of course whatever being offered by the court solution, commercial of the shelf solution may not fit to your requirement as it is, and it will undergo modifications, it will undergo configuration in customization, but keep a double check on every single customization and be open to adopt best practices. Okay, because many of the tools which are available, which comes handy, they have been built over the years with some best practices, right? And they have one or other standard way to support the process of maybe permit issue to SOP to other things. Okay, so be open to adapt those best practices, even if this means that you have to make some changes in your current practices. Especially this problem doesn't comes if you have thought through about asset management in the very beginning of the project. so that the organization gets in line how you have is thought through about it. But if it is kind of you already ongoing operations, it becomes a challenge. But with some leadership's support, I think this can be avoided. It can, because this becomes a too much of problem when you go for upgrade, because technology world is ever changing. Every 3 years, every 5 years, the older technology gets obsolete. And if you got to upgrade your systems, and if you got to get to the newer version of the IT software, it becomes a nightmare for the organizations, because you end up doing so much of customization that then you prefer that, okay, let me continue with this, or you kind of lose the edge on the newer functionalities. The fourth point which I want to kind of share around is the optimum use of technology. While we have been hearing about the IT and OT integration, right, under the umbrella of the IoT, AI, ML, as well as the augmented realities, artificial intelligence. Now, where you stand, and I would refer you back to the very first chart which we saw on the asset maturity, where you are. Okay, because you don't want to you got to ensure that your technicians, your shop floor people on the field uh, uh, see this technology adoption as a complement, not as a burden for their day-to-day jobs, or very specific point is a threat to replace them. Okay, now this is a fine balance where you are. Many times we have seen many of our customers comes that, okay, we want to implement AI, we want to implement, we want to go for predictive maintenance. Okay, we are happy because at IBM we have been bringing the technologies, we have the capability as we speak to support AI, ML use cases, IoT use cases. But first, let's understand where you are at present. Okay, have you fixed the visibility? Have you have the things under your control, right? Have you, if you are aiming for something high, ensure that you have the previous things covered in a right way, because otherwise it becomes just the ambitions, and those projects really find difficulties in their success. Okay, I mean, I'm not just putting one way. It's kind of the message that we have seen that, okay, they want to do predictive maintenance, but if I see their inventories, if I see the assets, they have got just one liner asset at a high level. uh, uh, this is my motor. Okay, this is my pump. Now, what about below that? No classifications, no sub assemblies detail, no spares detail. See, I mean, end of the day, the technology is not a magic box, right? I mean, it's going to leverage the information from your system. It's going to help you that, okay, this is how you go. Some of our customers, I mean, personally, I have observed that they want to do predictive maintenance, and if I when I go back and see their data, operational data, they don't have failure history, or they don't have the proper codification. So while you aim for AI ML, and there is a promise, of course, because a lot of things have changes, assets are smarter, the OT world is ready to shake hand with the IT world, right? And that's how we are in position to integrate with those PLC and SCADA, MES, DCS of the world, BMS systems. We can integrate, bring those insight in real time and near real time to IT system. But I think somewhere this balance, recalibration of where you stand, and this recalibration cannot be just one for entire organization. Quite possible for some X number of assets, you are already at a matured stage and where you want to go for, of course, AI ML things, whereas the Y number of assets, you are still at a very initial stage, right? So calibrating that, where you stand, what you want to really get into, the optimum use of technology, because it's a resistance we have observed very clearly, even resistance to mobile applications. The field workforce using the mobile, because they feel that organization wants to track my real-time location. I mean, those are the soft aspects. We can keep discussing it, but those are the true. And if the field staff, if the technician, are not seeing this as a compliment, if they are not seeing it ease of use with the quick click options, they are not going to go with this new technology adoption. Keep an eye on your digital twin. Point five, which is of course keep making a complete digital replica of your physical assets. And in this COVID time, I think every one of us have also acknowledged across the industry the use of digitization. Now, I just want to bring up specific points around here. This digital twin is not just seeing the asset in 3D. This is, of course, one of the important aspect, but not just that you have got a pretty shiny 3D view of the asset and you got to a digital twin. It's all about getting the information at each parts level about its failure modes, about its all kind of the SOPs at each levels, details about the parts level, the spares level, the tools level, all kind of the things which you have in available from a true digital twin point of view, right? So uh, of course, asset of the future, as I mentioned here, of course, this is promising a substantial business benefits of a reduction of operational cost and increasing the equipment uptime and availability. This approach got to be very pragmatic as you move on. So, what is that practical approach? What's the pragmatic approach to enable digital twin and AI? And somebody very recently quoted that there's no AI without a digital twin. Now, this is something very important to understand, that what we mean by digital twin, where you stand in your this journey around the asset management. And the first and foremost is the manage. Okay, the manage is the on the bottom left corner, understanding and managing your maintenance. And most of the organization would be doing it in one or other way. But again, the time to go back and see, is that good enough? Do I have the kind of standardization? Have I got all my workflows defined? Do I have the information about if something goes wrong? Many of you highlighted the challenge around unplanned downtime, right? Now, unplanned downtime, of course, can be reduced with proper planning, with the proper details in the system, by looking at the failure history, looking at a lot of information in those system, right? And of course, you can get to the predictions. But first and foremost, all kind of the standardization of your processes, having the complete visibility around the asset management and visibility across the board, across all high value items, or maybe all the critical assets which need to be under this managed thing. The next area is, of course, the condition monitoring. And condition monitoring, I'm sure industry has been doing it over the years. Even I have seen many of the customers doing 20 years back, when I was actually working with some of the customers very closely at their plant locations. But the condition monitoring was more of an static process. They defined their thresholds, they defined multiple meter points, and the data reading process was fairly manual. The person going in the field, taking maybe 2 times in a day, 5 times in a day, taking out the meter readings, putting in the system, and system was kind of evaluating if that crosses the threshold, and it triggers the alert in form of work order and other thing. The next stage is, of course, the automated condition monitoring. Okay, and this is most of your devices, the assets are controlled through the PLCs, the DCS, the SCADA of the world, MES system, not MES, but SCADA, as well as the BMS system. So enabling that automated condition monitoring, and the technology is promising to integrate with those systems, with those OT systems, get those anomalies detected, bring those anomalies into the system and act on it. Okay. So enabling this second logical step, also getting augmented with the visual inspection. I, I, I'm sure most of you, the inspection is a fairly labor intensive and very rigorous exercise. How do you make use of the IT technology uh, to see the deformations and the kind of the changes happening on the physical condition of the asset, could be through the video feed, or maybe through the still photographs, right? Bringing it into the consideration to automate the entire condition monitoring part. The next logical step is around enabling the reliability engineering. Now you have access to all the failure data history, asset history. You have got access to the operational data. It's a time to enable reliability engineering. If you go through all the 8 pillars of reliability engineering subject, uh, means pretty much now it's a time to see what's the health of these assets, right? Is this 60% or is the 80%? Is the 80% good or is the 60% bad? What means, how do you do the objective based assessment of the health? So this reliability engineering, which helps to look at the to help you do the long term uh, assessment of your health, asset health, right? Should you continue repair it, or is it a time to replace the asset, right? So health engineering, and of course very advanced stage of the asset performance management, where making use of the advanced statistical algorithms, getting into the future and determining if these trends continues, right? Where you will end up reaching it. It could be the if the pipeline which is getting corrode over the period, or it could be the boiler, the transformer. It could be any asset where asset performance management you are looking at. Okay. Enabling mobile, of course, now being the adoption of mobile, which are available to for the field workforce. They can do the task, they can fill out their actuals, they can do the failure reporting from their mobile phone, or maybe the tablet kind of devices, which are also enabled with some kind of remote assistant things, or the AI enabled capabilities. Okay, can we have a very quick poll here?
Sure, Pankaj. I'll just read out the poll question. Do you have any specialized asset management software solution? And you need to reply it as yes or no. I'll just read out the question again. Do you have any specialized asset management software solution? Well, we are waiting to know from you. Do you have any specialized asset management software solution? And we have the responses here. 81% says no. Over to you, Pankaj.
Thank you. I'm not really very surprised here to see this while working closely with across the industries with a lot of customers. I mean, they are doing it things, but in one or other way. Okay, they have homegrown systems. They have got legacy applications, and many of our customers that we come across, they have got also in some bigger umbrella of ERP system. They have been doing things in siloed. So I think not a surprise to me when I see this poll result. So going with this, after you kind of fix the basics around the visibility, okay, and that's going to give a substantial business result. Okay, I mean, before we aim high for predictive maintenance and AI enabled things, fixing some of the fundamentals can yield substantial business results. Here I'm talking about make use of AI, because this technology is now available. It's available, promising industry to retain the knowledge base over the period, right? It could be the knowledge base can be structured data. It can be in unstructured format, like the videos, the manuals, and all kind of the stuff. And this technology is now available in the hands of the large technicians. Okay, so there are two parts of the AI for remote assistant. Is one is the collaboration capability. So the person on the shop floor can do the hands-free maintenance while he has got the the devices. The he can narrate, he can kind of fill out his day-to-day logs through the voice command. Okay, capturing pictures of findings using the phone. It's like building the repository for your future reference. Okay, Also, not only you building it repository, you are also able to collaborate with your senior technicians who may not be around with you, but he may be at a remote location, right? So in real time, you are able to collaborate, take the advice, and of course, the same senior technician could support multiple technicians who are out in the field, right, at the same time. The guidance to ask questions in NLPs, the natural languages, right? See these capabilities. So connecting with the remote expert, and of course, continual training of the AI knowledge base, faster and real-time training based simulation. So this is, of course, we are also getting to the AR world, the augmented reality. While many of the projects are still at a kind of, I would say, the POC phase, but are if you feel you are ready to take these projects, I mean, technology is available. Of course, now we can get in more details in our other separate discussions. Enable RCM, make use of IoT and condition monitoring, and this is something very important because we also talked about the blurring the gap of the IT and OT systems more and more. They are talking to each other, the multiple SCADAs, and also having the historians where the several years of data is there, operational data. How do you bring that into the context of the reliability engineering? Some kind of the sheet I'm showing you right over here, the health score of the asset, right? It could be 22% as I'm showing on the screen, or it could be 98%. Is the 98% good, or is it a 22% bad? How this health score is getting derived? There can be multiple health drivers. It could be like the physical condition of the asset. It could be the age of the asset. It could be the maintenance cost of the asset. It could be many such parameters which may be contributing an overall health of the asset over the period, right? And this reliability engineering, enabling this kind of the things, helps you to take your long-term decision. Should you continue repair the asset, or is it now the time to plan for the replacement of the asset very objectively based on the exact data points? You may have 10 pumps functioning at 10 different operating locations, but their life, remaining life for these 10 assets, these 10 pumps could differ, depends upon their uses, depends upon where they are functioning, depends upon many other parameters, right? Even though they were all sourced from the same vendor at the same price. So it's not a subject of your commercial, it's a subject how they have been used, how they have functioned over the period, right? So enable this RCM part, enable APM. Next point with the predictive maintenance capability. If for some assets, some asset classes, you already have covered the basics around the visibility and control, it's really time for you to get to the predictive maintenance things, where it's time to build asset failure models, predictive failures, determining which factors that are contributing to failure. And there are many common models are available, which are kind of asset specific, asset class specific, available in terms of failure probability predictions, failure contribution. What is the, if this asset, what is the probability of failure of this asset in next 15 days, in next 6 months, in next 2 years, right? What is the confidence score, what is the confidence level that your prediction have got for this analysis, right? So I'm showing you some results here. If it is failing, what are the contributing factors for this particular breakdown, right? So these anomalies, detections, failure probabilities, so these are the capabilities. And my last point is around the don't get mixed up the asset management, the financial system, which we have observed very closely in the market. Back in 2003, 4, 5 time, any organization, the biggest success barometer was kind of having a right ERP system in place, right? And I'm sure most of us will agree to this, that the CIO, the CXO of the world, they would be measured if they are successful implementing an ERP. And over the years, some of the ERP solution do provide the asset management capability, but they are kind of only covering it, not as an specialized things. When I say specialized, we are going all the way to the calibration, to the all the hierarchies of assets, all kind of SOPs, all kind of ease of use for the technicians. See, ERP systems are still, I would say, it's a business application, and quite senior and trend people are using the ERP solutions. But EAM is typically the supervisor, the technician on the ground floor. They got to use the system. They cannot go with multiple clicks around to figure it out, one specific task, right? So have this thing, don't get mixed up where you have an investment around ERPs, and ERPs also offer the EM capabilities. Look at the total cost of ownership, because what happens, the software cost of an asset management may be seen as a significant overhead. But if you look at the TCO from software cost, implementation, support, upgrade, integration, training, hardware cost, you would see a significant difference why you got to have a specialized asset management. And of course, there are leading analysts have been publishing their reports in terms of capability of the solutions. We can discuss in more details. So next few minutes, I think we have got 10 minutes left, but in 5 minutes, I try to wrap up. At IBM, of course, we have been enabling reliability chain value with Maximo around with the tool called Maximo Asset Management, if you have heard about it. Uh, 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 some of the use cases around improving the productivities, optimizing the cost, and controlling the business risk around it. Okay. Now, this entire offering we offer, IBM offer as a one-stop shop for everything, for to start the journey from the beginning to the advanced use cases. We have offering, functional offering as manage, monitor, help, predict, assist, everything on one single technology platform, which is on the which can be deployed in on-premises as well as on the cloud environments. It comes with the Watson Studio and Watson ML kind of the capabilities, and it's completely modular. So if you have got use cases only around manage, which means the first fixing the visibility, you only buy and you pay only for the first components. If you've got requirement for more, you can pick and choose these components as that fits to your business requirement. If you say where is the AI, so before we move on, just have a quick poll here.
The poll question reads: Does your asset management tool is your asset management tool capable of taking you through the AI journey and enable digital twin? And you need to answer it as yes or no. I'll repeat the question again. Is your asset management tool capable of taking you through the AI journey and enable digital twin? Well, we want to know from you, is your asset management tool capable of taking you through the AI journey and enable digital twin? We have the options as yes or no. Please put your finger on any of those. We would love to know from you, is your asset management tool, is it capable of taking you through the AI journey and enable digital twin? Well, we have the response here when 58% says no and 42% says yes. Over to you, Pankaj.
Thank you. Where is the AI in this? If you see it, of course, the offerings that I mentioned, okay, type of anomalies detections, maybe like the varying signal becomes flat line, or if there is this complete signal becomes a near vertical lines. How do you kind of get these analytics out, get these anomalies detected, bring it into the notice, how many times this kind of things has happened, right? System is capable of bringing these insight out and bring it into your design consideration, your maintenance consideration, right? Because every such changes, every such anomalies have some reasons behind it, right? So if I say for Maximo monitor point of view, if you think about from the predictive models point of view, a plethora of the predictive models to do failure pattern analysis, we kind of at IBM solution, we ship failure probability prediction models. We have got failure contribution breakdowns, failure date prediction, failure progressions, where you can do survival analysis, vival analysis, viva analysis, right? So all these predictive models are shipped as part of the offering. Visual inspection, again, this offering on the same technology platform, which can process the feed, the pictures and the videos, and bring detect what's the anomaly, right? Is there a deformation? Is there a degradation? All kind of the anomalies will can be detected by the VI offering that we have on this. This is a mass assist offering, is kind of which we talked about, a senior technician collaborating with sitting in a office or sitting in control room and assisting the junior technicians who are out in the field, who are out in the at the operating location, right? Giving them guidance. Even the technician can search, they can diagnose, they can query the system in NLPs, in natural language, in with voice command, and the system is giving the recommendation back after processing the structured and unstructured data. So this capability is, of course, AI enabled, the mass assist capability. So with this, we know we are on top of the hour. We will open it for Q&A now.
Sure, Pankaj, as you rightly said, with this, it's time for Q&A, and we will take the questions one by one. Well, the first question is from Anand, and he wants to know how can we decide the asset life?
Right. A very good question, Anand. See, asset life, as I said, it's not a magic. It got to be based on the data, right? Very first point comes from the OEM who has been the manufacturer of the asset. Okay, the very first point comes that, okay, the manufacturer has given the design life maybe like 3 years, 5 years, right? That becomes the initial point. After that, over the period, uh, the you are managing the details of this particular asset, how this asset is being functioning, how often the failure is being observed, how the deterioration happening of the asset condition, right? This entire thing are captured in the system over the period, and that, of course, gives you the asset life. What's the asset life remaining? Okay, many a time, and this is where, of course, the predictive model, prediction models, and other things helps you to do the extrapolations, okay, predictions. But it's this is entire subject, and that's how I was showing you on one of the screen where the asset health score was clearly derived very objectively, very scientifically. Okay, so that's how we do it. First, taking the data from OEMs as a base recommendation, and then, of course, after monitoring all the operational parameters and bringing them into the context.
And Pankaj, with that, we'll take the next question. And Dinesh, he has a query. He asked, are there any specialized software management, for maritime? Yes.
So, of course, in fact, Maximo has a presence in maritime scenarios. Okay, in fact, ports and the ships kind of thing. I believe that is what you meant, right? With
Yes, Pankaj,
yes,
maritime and so yeah.
yes, yes. So so exactly, in fact, it's heavily used across the even many of the defense organizations using it for their navy ships and other things. Okay, in fact, many other organizations, the commercial lines, they have been using IBM Maximo solution in maritime. One of the very important thing is because once the system the it's out of the dock, right? It may be in the sea for several months and several days, right? So in fact, we support a lot of such scenarios, how that entire data, because by the time that particular ship is in the sea, the entire data and everything will be siloed with on the deck, right? Within the system. So yes, a short answer is yes. We can discuss a lot more, maybe in a different through separate
Sure,
topic.
Pankaj. Thank you. And the next question is from Praveen. Are there any software to manage asset history with planned and unplanned maintenance work orders generated based on scanning of asset?
Yeah, I mean, Maximo can do it, but what you mean by scanning of asset, I think you are saying that if there's a barcode or maybe the scanning the barcode.
Probably
RFID
yes,
line?
Pankaj. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, yes, Maximo does that very easily, actually.
Okay, great. The next question is from Nitin. He's asking, is the plat or does the platform offer
I just saw another, I think, this, what is it? Digital twin in real time.
examples of digital twin in real time?
So I can give a lot more examples. Okay, for example, many of the metro organizations in India, they are currently in the construction phase. Okay, or some of them are in operations also in some of the metro cities, right? They are going with this concept of digital twin. So right at the time of when they have got EPCs constructing the lines, they are coming up with the 3D BIM models. Okay, and that is a starting point. Now, as I said, digital twin is not just about the 3D visualization. It is about at each point, what's the failure modes, what's the maintenance plans, what's the all kind of the assets which fits to those specific locations. And we are observing this at the new plants which are coming up, and more and more organizations are keen to have a true digital twin. As I said, there's no AI without a digital twin, right? So it's kind of a complementary. If you are aiming high for AI enabled processes, you got to have things in control through the digital twin. We are also observing in the airport scenarios some of the new upcoming things which where they are having the BIM models. So this is only one side of the thing. We IBM also have opened a digital twin marketplace where these OEMs are able to sell their the digital models to our customers, and we are kind of bringing the life in those digital models. Okay, so I think this thing is quite I mean gaining the traction in the market of in real.
Sure, Pankaj. And here's another question, and probably the last one from Nitin. Is the or does the platform offer flexibility to create data models for new type of
Yes.
assets?
Yes, absolutely, and that is exactly the capabilities with Maximo platform. We are bringing the entire Watson ML studio and the library. So not only we bring some pre-built models, we also give the options to fine tune them, optimize them, and create your new models also. Okay, so exactly that most of our customer need it because what we ship out of the box may or may not fit to all the asset classes. Okay, while we as an OEM, we have our as our offering is also getting matured over the years. Still, we don't cover all the asset classes. But with this studio, with this tool, our customers can build their own data models.
Thank you so much, Pankaj. With this, we come to the end of the Q&A session. But for the audience, if you want to get in touch with the IBM team, please do so at the details shared on your screen. Also, please do fill up the feedback form, which will open in your browser after the webinar ends. We truly look forward to it. Any closing remarks from you, Pankaj?
No, I think it was great having all of you on the call, and hope it was useful. And we are happy you can reach out to us for further details on this subject. There was of course, constraint of the time. We could cover only few things, but we are more than happy and available to take the discussions forward. Thank you for your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Pankaj, and thank you so much, audience. With this, we come to the end of the webinar. Thank you once again for sparing your valuable time, audience, for being with us today. Take care and stay safe.